All right, welcome back to the kitchen table where business gets done. I am your host, Ken Baden. Today we have a special guest with us, my good friend James Shin. James, how are you doing today?
I'm doing finer than a frog's hair, split in three ways in a can.
I've never had anybody give a better intro into the show. That was awesome, man. You
I
guys
lived
might
in the
notice today things look a little different because I don't have my fancy studio. And look, the day that we're recording this, if you guys are listening to this, this is the day after Thanksgiving. So we're going to give Roger a little pass. But there was, I guess he had too much turkey or something. I'll call it turkey. We don't know yet. But so, it's just me and James. We're the only ones working on this Friday after Thanksgiving. But I'm happy to do it, man. This is where I started. This is where everything started. It was literally right here. You see the sign in the background, the little light. I've got my 5 squares of soundproofing. So we're good to go, brother. I'm happy to have you, man. I'm really excited to talk.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. And then I love the name, the kitchen table. I love cooking, so
Well, I'm not much of a cook, man. I started, and it's funny you say that because I was considering, and I made a post about this recently about changing the name relative to just switching things up this year, making a maybe more of a focus on more of a focus on some concentrated source material. Maybe more of my industry specific. I don't know. I really haven't decided yet. The kitchen table premise started behind teaching folks door to door in-home sales. And when you teach
correct.
home sales, the idea is, look, you need to get to the kitchen table. That's where
Hmm.
business gets done. Hence the
Right.
tagline, where business is done and all the stuff. So that's where it comes from. And, keeping in that same vein, sales, business, entrepreneurship, it falls right in with why we're here today and what we're here today to talk about because you were so kind as to send me a copy of your book and I enjoyed it so much. Um, I love mindset. I love, books on leadership. We actually require and anybody in my leadership group within my company to read the 5 levels of leadership.
Hmm.
There's a lot of I write what else other than yours. Good to Great, just
Hmm.
several books that emphasize not only, teaching 13 fatal errors that managers make and how to
Hmm.
avoid them. And these are all books that teach leadership principles and, Good to Great's more broad strokes in terms of like
Hmm.
getting your business from good to great, but it definitely focuses on leadership. Um, and it's just something I'm really passionate about. I mean, in growing and constantly wanting to learn. And the book is called The Leader's Soul, right? And it's subtitled 52 Reflections for Unlocking Your Inner Leader. First and foremost, before we get into the specifics of the book and kind of touching on, just how to be a better leader, because ultimately that ties right into entrepreneurship and sales. What, how did you find yourself here? That's really where I first like to start with all of our guests. Tell us who James Shin is and how you came to write this book.
So let me start by saying I'm originally from the South. You can tell by my Southern accent, right? So South Korean
Yeah,
accent.
I was getting ready to say South Korea if I remember correctly, right?
Exactly. So
I hear
I
the twang in your voice.
so I came to the States 31 years ago for my PhD at Penn State. And then I started working in the industry mainly within a Caterpillar. I worked for Caterpillar for 20 years. Moved within a company 7 times, and then also I worked for different companies. And after that, and then my last in the company before I started my own consulting was Cabinet Works Group that makes cabinets, kitchen cabinets. So throughout my journey, I went through different challenges, changes. Moving from South Korea to the United States, that's one challenging aspect. Getting my PhD was another challenge, and then going through the work environments and moving up the ladder was another challenge. So throughout my career life, I learned a lot from ups and downs, and so that's how I got to write the book about the leadership and life. So here I am. I'm living in Houston, Texas.
And I love that. I mean, your book pulls from, everyday experiences and a lot of stuff about your life. And, I really I can relate so much to it because there's so many themes to, I think we get so caught up, and look, I'm guilty of this too. Here we are, it's the end of the year, we're meeting about numbers,
Hmm.
literally before I jumped in this call.
Hmm.
We were in a room we call the war room, and we're going over, end of the year strategy and what are things we can do to get these folks motivated to hit these numbers,
Hmm.
and what I really enjoyed about where you come from is a place of, look, numbers are great, man, but you got to tap into people and the essence of like who they are. And if you want people to grow and if you want to be a good leader, it can't just be all about numbers and the results from the numbers, but
Right.
rather personal growth, and like what do you do to helping that person grow internally, and
Hmm.
investing in them, truly investing in them. And this the people centric approach to leadership. I love that. You know, where did that come from? Is that like, just obviously your experience? I mean, that's the book makes that clear, but can you speak to some of that? Like, what prompted you to write that, or where that comes from internally, just other than not the obvious, your personal experiences, but just, I think a lot of us
Absolutely.
get so caught up in that. So I'd love you to expand on
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, based on, my experiences, but, specific to, certain, cases, when I came to, Penn State and my English wasn't good, I didn't know the, American culture, very well, but I was surrounded by, good people, good students, and then, they helped me and they taught me. Same thing at the, work environment as well. So I had challenging projects and always there are good people around me and we work together, we got things done. And one good example was one of my earlier leadership roles was to be the plant manager and supply chain manager in small town Corinth, Mississippi. So my leadership picked me to go down there, but at the same time, they were concerned about me as well because I wasn't born here and then going down to the deep south, and they were not sure how it's going to work out. But it was absolutely fantastic experience, and people are people. I still have a good relationship with a lot of them. Actually, I'm going to visit them next week as well. So throughout my life and career, and people I just learned that people are the main critical, factor. So, and then some of the, results we had sustainable long-term results because of the, people. So,
that. I love that, man. And one of the lines you argue in your book, I believe it's integrity.
and compassion.
Yes, integrity and compassion. Integrity and compassion. Like that's the key, right? Integrity and compassion. Like that's what leadership's got to have. Strategy isn't enough. Integrity and compassion is a paramount in any leadership role. And I feel like, again, that it's just become so robotic, man. So if you're listening to this and you're like, man, and there's guys I work with that I'm trying to teach to be better leaders, hence why we have them read those books. And guys fall short on the numbers, and it's just, I don't think there's enough like tapping into. I don't think there's enough of that integrity and compassion. And maybe there's the integrity, but maybe
Hmm.
there's a lack of compassion, man. Like what's
Hmm.
going on in your life, and can you expand on that in terms of just kind of what exactly you mean by that? And maybe, some examples might be, like I said, I mean, what we're going through right now, sales guys fall short, and let's just hire some new ones. Well, did you coach up? Have you really
Right,
tapped into the essence of what's going on? Can you speak
right.
to that theme of integrity and compassion?
Right, absolutely. So integrity is basically to me the consistency between what you say and what you do. And then your people see that, right? So if you don't have the consistency and people feel that, oh, my boss is not consistent, so I don't have to do that, right? So that basically flows, through your, organization and it becomes, toxic environment. And so that's, integrity, part. And compassion is, empathy, that's feeling with someone, right? But and then compassion is basically feeling plus action, right? Desire to help. So, good example is when I was the plant manager. I didn't have to go out to the shop floor, but I went out to the shop floor, talk to the people every day, and then I gained their trust. They came with problems first, and then once we had that culture, people came with the problems and solutions as well. So that's why, like, I picked the integrity and compassion as top two characteristics. So
I love that. And it really talks to, and going back to that theme of like people centric approach. But one of the things that you talk about that honestly, like I can't stand when I see someone, for instance, let's give an example here at my office. We got a laid back, relaxed office.
hmm
Some of these guys have been with me since day one, and
hmm
so now sometimes I probably can be a little too loosey goosey. And so, when we bring in some more authoritative figures, right, then like there's always change. People are always resistant to change. But one thing I always stress with our management folks is you can't hold someone accountable to something that you don't do. You know
right,
what I mean? So like,
right,
you wonder why your sales guys aren't out there every Saturday when you're all supposed to be out there every
hmm
Saturday, including you, but yet every
hmm
Saturday you're never out. You
right,
you take off every Saturday. You are out playing paintball or doing whatever the hell you're doing, but then you want to know, and why aren't these guys out? It's like you set the example, man, and your actions set
right,
that example. You're even being
absolutely,
late, you
right,
know, like, oh
right,
man, Johnny's always late. We got to fire him. Buddy, you were late today, right? Like,
hmm
how then can you hold him accountable
right.
if you don't do those things? I mean, I don't know. I love that. I feel like that's just so it's missing so much. It's like this idea of like, you know, uh, monkey see, monkey do, or what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, do as I say, not as I do. And I feel like that's
Right,
just
right.
such a failed, missed
hmm
opportunity as a leader. I don't think that exists much anymore today, especially with like
Right,
the cultural changes to the age gaps. But I think that you basically just lose an entire chance to help somebody or help someone grow if you don't, and help yourself grow, because now you,
right.
as a leader, you're being held to a standard by which you need to hold other people, and you may struggle with something. But can you speak to like not only the importance, but just how someone looking to be a leader can really adopt that principle?
So I think there are two, aspects, right? So one is the more, characteristics, side. So integrity and compassion. You gotta show them, what you do and how you do it, right? So, to me, basically the leadership is not about the results. It's about the who you are, what you are at the core. So people can emulate, you and what you do. But also there is, business side, right? So business side, and you gotta show the more, I guess, structured, systematic approach. And I often use that PDCA approach, plan, do,
Yeah, that's all right.
check and act, right? So, and then that's actually important because one is you show the consistency how you think and execute, but also that becomes group mentality. You're not the only one who comes up with plan, action, and check all that stuff. You do that with your team, so it becomes the team's responsibility, not just your responsibility. So in a
Oh, I
brief
love it.
way, that's what I would say. So.
You said PVCA. You got PQVC as well. It's on my notes here.
Yeah,
Uh,
PQVC is basically the goal side, and traditionally, even manufacturing, people think about the cost, first, right? So, but we gotta flip that, priority. So, people, quality, velocity, and cost. If you execute that way, you will have sustainable results. I can guarantee you that. So,
which is people, quality, velocity, cost, not
right,
cost first. And it
right.
just reinforces that idea of like caring for people
hmm
and like just people centric approach, like people first.
hmm
You know what I
Right.
mean? And that you can never go wrong focusing
hmm
on, because those folks are going to be, that's where leadership becomes like, now you have loyalty. Now you have
hmm
people that are truly invested in you,
hmm
not just transaction. And I think I did a good job at that and just didn't understand maybe what I was doing early on,
hmm hmm
but solely coming from a place of like empathy and
Right.
truly caring about my folks. Um, and one of
But
the things,
also, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
sorry.
No, no, go ahead.
So I don't want to generalize it, but I think leadership and leaders have tougher situation now than before because of the younger generation. So one is the entitlement, and then another one is social media distractions and other things. So leadership becomes tougher nowadays than my generation, and I'm an old folk, so that's what I say. So.
Well, we were talking about that earlier, and I
Mhm.
think that a lot of people listening to my show, first of all, they may be that younger generation, but there's probably a lot more that are listening that have to work with
hmm
that. And look, it's tough, man. It's guys, it's just different, right? There's a
hmm
there's a
Right.
different work ethic level, and I don't mean to say that disrespectfully. It's just it
hmm
seems my experience has proven to be factually based that this gap here in age, you know, all the old folks never take off sick, right? Like we're never sick, right? What's up with that? And
Right.
I'm not
Right.
old by any stretch. I don't mean to say that, but like, it's just somehow we maintain better health priorities. Somehow we get here on time. Somehow we do the things we're supposed to. So I don't know. I feel like if you're younger, look, it's not doom and gloom. If you're a younger person, man, you can take over the world just by simply showing up and doing what you're supposed
Absolutely. Absolutely.
to.
So I mean, yeah, if you do that, then you're ahead of your competition, right? So absolutely right. So.
One of the things I wanted to mention too that I really, really like is I'm a big proponent of. I mean, people ask, well, what's the secret to success? And and as I've read your book, you've read some of my background, where I've come from,
Mhm.
I tend to focus on where I'm not off too often, and I should be a lot more focusing on how blessed I am to be where I'm at, especially considering where I came from.
Mhm.
But when I reflect on that, I tell people, look, entrepreneurship is just you're going to make a lot of mistakes. In fact, you kind of count on that, and when you do, as long as you learn from it, it's certainly not a failure. It might be a
Mhm.
mistake, but it isn't a
Mhm.
failure. The only failure is like truly quitting. Then
Right.
you're a failure. Because until then, as long as whatever mistake you made isn't big enough to take you out, then you can learn from it and you get better. And you talk about that. Like, I think you said something like, a mistake that you don't learn from is a big, big mistake. Like, that's
Mhm.
the only massive mistake is just not learning from it. Otherwise, mistakes are meant to be learned from. Can you shed some light on that? I think that is something that our business owners and entrepreneurs really need to hear. Like, you're gonna make mistakes, learn from them.
Absolutely. So, like, I mean, even you look at the people you think successful out there, right? So it's not that they went through the easy life, and right. So, I mean, there are a little bit difference, between working for a company and then having your own business. Main difference is, working for a company, you have structure, but you will make mistakes there as well. But the entrepreneurship and is more critical because like it's yours, right? And but as you mentioned, making mistakes, you can learn a lot from them, but quitting is actually that's the failure. um so I think you got to look at that as more lessons learned in a perspective rather than you just stop trying, right? So I use that example, Jim Thorpe example. So he was, tremendous athlete in the early 1900s, and he went to the Swedish, Olympics, and somebody stole his shoes and socks, and so he just found some mismatched in shoes and socks, and he won two golds.
Mhm.
So he didn't quit. So I think that's another good example, historical perspective. So
Yeah, did they make a movie or something about that? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. I'm not
I
sure,
feel like
but
I could be thinking of something else, so I'm at risk of
right.
not embarrassing myself. um, Another thing that I really like that I'm looking down at my notes here, James, is long-term culture, not just short-term goals and quotas, right?
Mhm.
Like focus on building long-term culture, not just in again, man, guilty is charged sometimes, right? Like we definitely focus on the culture, but like right now it's been this goal, this goal, this goal, this goal,
Hmm. Hmm.
short term. Guess what? As soon as that goal gets hit, then the next that second,
Right.
2026, and their goals, and it's double next year. So it's even more.
Hmm.
You mean? So like, but we're not worried about that until the short term goal is hit. But as long as every business owner is probably guilty of that. But can you really, just kind of dive deeper on this idea of like, hey man, really focus on building that long-term culture because it's a dangerous game, really just getting fixated on those short-term goals.
Right. And you gotta look at, actually both, right? So long-term, goals and then, short-term, goals. And so I often use that example, like 2008, 2009, financial crisis in 2013. We had those moments and you have to take the, short-term actions, during those environments. But at the same time, you still should have that, what good looks like, right? So and it's right that like once you achieve a goal, and then you often say like, oh, you take the 30-second celebration and go back to work, right? Now, as long as you know what good looks like, you know the steps, and I think it's okay. Now, the challenge would be that you have the unreasonable goal, and then push the people that way, and that can be a little bit dangerous, but and then also, if you didn't achieve the goals, they just dissect it. What happened? How that happened, right? Is that because of the internal factors, or if it was the external factors like in a financial crisis? So once you dissect that and then share that with your team, and then they will jump into your boat, right? So.
My team and I've got this new VP that's in the other room here. She just came on. She's really going to help us kind of
Mhm.
scale next year. And she was just going over again before this. We were just going over kind of right into the year stuff and really just where marketing's kind of falling short. I mean, there's a lot of variables to consider.
Right.
I was throwing some stuff together, and it's my fault, right? I mean, fish stinks from the head down, and
Mhm.
so she's been brought in to fix these things, right? So, she's going through a bunch of ugly numbers, and I know it's fine, right? Like that's why we brought her in, and we've been blessed this year. Great year.
Mhm.
Could be better. Could be a lot better,
Mhm.
especially if
Mhm.
those things are fixed, right?
Mhm.
So, but her suggestion was she's a woman. So first and foremost, she's going to think a little differently than I did. She
Mhm.
had a much
Absolutely.
better thought process on, I wanted to kind of barge in and just, this is what we're doing, and, fire and brimstone and get everybody fired up. And she's like, or maybe we could, sit everybody down after we have a plan, come to them with this plan
Hmm.
and, redefine what that looks like. And your book
Right.
talks about like redefining what success means. So like, I have a parallel there where it's like, okay, maybe we just need to think about this in a way of like, let's really redefine what that looks like, not just the numbers and those things, but like, how important would you place, one thing we used to do that we've kind of gotten away from, and I think we still do it. It's just we need to have some realness to it, which is like meeting with new employees, meeting with new reps, especially leadership, sitting them down and asking them like, what are your goals? Real goals,
Hmm.
not just
Right.
here. But what are your goals
Right.
within the company? What else? You want to lose some weight? You want to gain some weight? You want to
Hmm.
buy a house? Like, if you want to share these things with me, I'm not forcing you to, but I'd love to help you with it. Get to know your people intimately. How important do you think that is?
Oh, absolutely important, right? But first of all, and you talked about the, new hire, VP, and that's essence of the diversity. So, you hire, people with different background, eventually will help you and your business because of, different thoughts and, experiences, right? So that's absolutely important. And then getting to know, people is also very important. So that's what I've been doing. So meet with your people. It can be also outside your team as well. You understand what they like, what they don't like, and how business is going. That opens up the trust in a factor, right? So trust is also another important factor that is related to integrity and compassion. So once you have the trust, and it opens up a lot of opportunities. So I totally agree that you should do it. So.
Yeah, if you heard me, it's just all really just diving in with people on a personal level and asking them what they want to build and then checking back in on it
Hmm.
quarterly.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? Like, where
Absolutely.
are you? How can I help you on that?
Right.
That's something that we did add.
Right.
I just think you don't want to get too mechanical with it, right? Like what I've
Right.
noticed is like
Right. Right.
guys now meet quarterly and it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going
Right.
through. It's like, no, man, like let's
Right.
get, remember the empathy and all
Right.
that. So if it just becomes another mechanical goal, it's like, of what use was that, right? So
And then also, you can travel together, business trip, you can join another team, and then you can actually observe them firsthand, right? So how they do what they do, and that can be a good conversation, and then learn from each other as well. So,
yeah, that's a good idea, actually. That's a really good idea.
mhm.
You and I were talking uh, before this, James, and this is going to anybody. I was telling James that I had a goal to write a book before my daughter was born, and I just didn't meet it, and a lot of reason. Well, I had started working on it. I used the working on it to like buy me time, but I have two books that I have in my brain. One that I really want to write, one that I know is more relevant to like kind of my brand, I suppose. So it would be easier to get on podcasts and things like that, probably promote. And I use that as to why I didn't write anything. So it didn't get me anywhere. And so I asked James, I said, if you were to give me a piece of advice, what would you recommend to kind of get myself started again? You said,
Publish both.
yeah,
So they are, I mean, two different books, but I think there are, two different purposes, right? So one is you're gonna write a book about the relationship in the business environment, right? So that helps other people as well. They can learn from you, your experience, and that kind of stuff. So it'll be a good business book from that aspect. But you wanna write a autobiography. So that has different context, right? So number one, it would be good book for your family and especially your daughter, right? And then second thing is that actually supports the relationship in a book. And so it kind of supporting each other. So that's why you write, both books. That's my recommendation, and I'm sticking to it. So
all right, I can't get away from it. Then I got to just take the time to write both. There's no
absolutely,
reason why I can't. There's no reason why.
absolutely. I'm
And
gonna
we'll
check
do.
on I'm gonna check on you later.
I
So
know you are. I know you are. And you're in Texas, right?
yeah, I'm in Texas. You're in
Where at? What part of Texas?
Houston.
Okay, yeah, I'll be in Dallas a couple weeks from now. I haven't been
Oh,
there,
okay.
but next
Um,
time I'm down there, man, if I'm ever in the Houston
yeah,
area,
swing by
I'll
a better place.
and I'll have to see where you'll have to see where I'm at relevant to the two books, and I'll see
Yeah,
where you are.
right.
We can't talk too much about it, but I do know that there's whispers of a new book.
The
I'll leave that to be for
the
yourself.
first step, start it.
Just start it. Okay. All right. And that's for anybody listening. First step, start. Don't make
Right.
excuses like I've been doing. Um, James, for anyone listening, first of all, if they want to buy the book, where can they get it? How can they get it? And then where can they find you and on all social media, see what you're up to and what you're working on next?
Yeah, so the my book, The Leader's Soul, is on Amazon.com and also Barnes and Noble as well. So you can check that out. And then I've got social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, but they have different purposes. So for the business leadership and life, I mainly use the LinkedIn. So you can connect me with on LinkedIn. I share my thoughts on leadership and life regularly, so you can check that out as well. Instagram, I've got hobbies like, food, cooking, traveling, and etc. So I use the Instagram more for that, stuff outside your work. So, you can check me out on the Instagram as well if you're interested. So,
Sure, our listeners will be, man. We want to see what you're working on next. I absolutely love this, man. Guys, if you have a team and if you listen to this show, I'm sure you are into leadership, into like a lot of the mindset principles behind leadership, NLP, all of that stuff. If you're into any of these things, DISC, NLP, mindset, leadership, I would strongly recommend this book. So I really enjoyed it, man. Um, And I think we might have to add this to our leadership team uh, must reads. And I really enjoyed meeting with you, man. This is our second time. Again, I wasn't getting ready to let you have to reschedule, so that's why we're like, no, we're going to make this happen today, no matter what. Thank you for being so kind. Thank you for sending the book, and thank you for stopping by today, my friend. One last thing that we've added to the show, and it was the original. This was the original send off on the first probably 50 episodes, and I brought it back on the last 50. If you were to add one piece of wisdom to really impart on our viewership, one line, one quote, something that folks are going to remember you for a long time, right? When they look up next to your name and they search you on the internet and they see this quote, what would that be?
Trust your wings and fly. So yeah, that came actually they came from birds, right? So birds on the branches, they are not afraid of branch being you know broken or fall off because they trust their wings, right? So trust your wings and fly, experience more, and then so to speak, fail as well, and you're gonna learn from it. So um,
A big fail is if you don't.
right, right, absolutely. So, I mean, you're fantastic in host, and thank you for having this session with me, and sharing the book. It's different from the other literature books. It's more about the reflections. So, if you can check that out, that would be wonderful as well. So,
Yeah, I agree, man. It's an awesome book. Thank you so much again, James, for your time. Guys, check it out. Add it to your must-read list. James, we'll be in touch soon, man. I'll make sure I keep you posted on my own writing exploits. Until then, hope you had a great holiday. Have a happy holiday coming up, and we'll see you guys soon.
thank you. Happy holidays. Bye.